Spring training is almost upon us, which means it's time to put a close to the MLB offseason while opening up those grade books. Did your favorite team set the standard this offseason or receive a see me after class note? It's time to find out. Hello everyone and welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Logan Bourandas alongside Allie Wenskoski and Anthony Desher. So let's start out with the top of those grade books. Think the A-plus type student. I'll start out with you, Anthony. What team set the standard this offseason? Kind of like a Starlight Starbright signing the Mets made last winter.
Well, you got to say, I'm no good. I don't have a degree in education. I'm not really verified at grade much, I guess. But you can't lie. The Philadelphia Phillies have had a great offseason. They signed arguably the best shortstop in the league in Trey Turner. And then they bolstered the bullpen with Craig Kimbrell, Matt Strahm, and Gregory Soto, who they only gave up a couple bench bats for. He's a two-time All-Star, so it's a really good deal with them. Him and Jose Alvarado, both lefties, together they make up 80% of all those very high-speed fastballs. So if they can get their control under together, that'd be great for the bullpen. They also get Taijuan Walker for the back end of the rotation because that's what they struggled with postseason. They were always rolling out Nola and Wheeler, and they just kind of ran out of gas towards the end. So you get another solid arm in the back of the rotation. You have either Bailey Falter at number 5, or you can bring up the young gun and Andy Painter, who looks really promising in the minors. But I really think the Phillies made a bunch of moves that would help them in every area of the field. So they get the A in my book, maybe an A+, as David Dabrowski is holding there. He's got the best grade in the class so far. So I do agree that the Phillies have a great season, and they have a great season ahead of them, and the great offseason that they've had.
I agree with you, Anthony. I think the Phillies had a really good offseason, but I'm going to go to another National League team and another team who made the playoffs last year. I'm going to go with the San Diego Padres, who just had a great offseason, maybe more quiet or just under the radar, but still great nonetheless. So they started off trying to go for Aaron Judge, trying to go for Carlos Correa, and they didn't work out for them. I mean, who didn't go for those names, but it showed that they had money to spend and that they wanted the big names. And they got one with Xander Bogaerts, which is a huge pickup for them. Anthony, I'm going to say he's one of the best shortstops in the league. And, you know, maybe not Trey Turner, but I think he's one of the best. And so it's really going to help him. They're going to have him for basically the rest of his career if he doesn't get injured, hopefully not. And they're going to join the big names on their team already with Manny Machado, and Fernando Tatis is coming back. And they also signed Nelson Cruz, you know, a veteran in the industry, just a star at the plate. And though he is old, he's been able to perform. From 2008 to 2021, he hit 434 home runs. So he may be getting up there in age, but his performance isn't lacking.
You know, I'm not going to argue which team or student, I guess we can say, had the better offseason. Both made really strong signings in the shortstop department. But now kind of flipping the page a little bit, talking more, less about the teams that you guys are talking about with the A+, now talking more on the F side of things. Who really struggled this offseason? Allie, I'll start with you.
Yes, so I think there is a name here, which the San Francisco Giants, you know, struggled, but that was just for publicity in instances. So they tried to go for Aaron Judge, and it seemed like they were going to get him, and they were talking to him, and it seemed like a sure deal, and then they lost him the next day to the Yankees. And it seemed like they were going to get Carlos Correa. They officially signed him for one day, and then they pulled out because of a physical. But I think they had some good outfield moves, such as Michael Conforto, so they're not my failure of the offseason. My failure actually is the Boston Red Sox. So that's a rebuilding team who needed a rebuilding season, which goes along with a rebuilding offseason, and they just didn't get it. To start off, they lost their franchise shortstop, Xander Bogaerts, as I said before. And it's also about what they did do this season. They signed Japanese outfielder Masataka Yoshida, which is a great pickup for them. I think he's really solid in the outfield and at the plate. It's going to help him with their offense. However, my problem with it is how much they paid for him. They paid $90 million for 5 years, which is, you know, there's been bigger contracts signed. However, my problem is that they had to pay the Japanese team $15 million just to talk to him and to sign him as well, which really cost them. And then additionally, they signed Kenley Jansen and they signed Justin Turner, both veterans, both really good position players. However, they're just past their prime.
Well, we talked about the high and we talked about the low end of this offseason, and now we can kind of move into the teams that kind of flew under the radar a little bit. So, Anthony, what's one team that kind of fits this department this offseason?
Let's head to Wrigley Field, and those Cubbies have sure made a lot of offseason moves that aren't getting the attention they deserve. Let's start off with Dansby Swanson, one of the top shortstops. I know there's a lot of shortstops in this market. He was one of the top ones. Everyone's like, well, maybe he resigns with Atlanta. Nope, he goes to Chicago. And then we have Brad Boxberger, who is a reliable arm in the pen. Trey Mancini, great story. He played pretty well in the World Series, so he did deserve that contract there. Jameson Taillon, it helps out the rotation. After the All-Star break, they had one of the best ERAs in the entire league, so it was good to get another arm like him. And at the very end there, Cody Bellinger. And if he can get just a little pinch of what he was and with his MVP self, I think the Cubs will get a lot more national attention than they normally would. I know Wilson Contreras leaving hurts them, but I think the moves they made, it really helps, let's say, reignite the lineup they have. So the loss of Contreras isn't as bad as people might think.
Yeah, we've seen definitely a lot of different angles from this offseason and definitely a lot of different grades talked about in this segment. So we'll definitely see if the offseason champions stay that way and hold that title, or if those teams that we did grade so low can prove us wrong kind of in those first couple months. Well, we'll see which teams live up to those offseason grades as the new MLB season quickly approaches. Will these offseason champions fade out of the spotlight, or will the forgetful student turn things around? There's only one way to find out. That'll do it for this edition of Penn State Sports Night. For Anthony Desher and Allie Wenskoski, I'm Logan Bourandas, and have a great night.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning into this edition of Penn State Sports Night. We hope you liked that segment.
And we're sure there's other Penn State Sports Night segments that you are going to love as well. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content.
And check us out on social media for updates and behind the scenes clips and pics. Follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action.
For all of us here at the Belisari Media Center, we are
Penn State Sports Night.